So today I'm going to share with you my two biggest final expense sales I ever made. One of them I netted somewhere around $40,000 to $45,000 in net commission from one client, and the other one approximately $20,000 to $25,000 in net commission dollars from one client. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is that I want to share three valuable, important lessons with you, as well as just the story of how it even came about, because I think there's some mindset issues that we all get as agents in the final expense business that we have to reveal to ourselves and then expunge as quickly as humanly possible, because these self-imposed barriers many times get in our way of success. So let's jump right in. My name, in case you haven't met before, is David DeFord. I own DeFord Insurance Group. I train and recruit agents nationally to sell final expense in person or over the phone. Our unique selling proposition to you, the potential agent out there, is one-on-one mentorship, high commissions, and an incredible experience. If you like that kind of sales training oriented culture as opposed to the typical multi-level marketing Kool-Aid schemes that are out there, visit daviddeford.com/FAQ for more details about what we look for agents who apply to join. So let's start and go all the way back to approximately 2015 to 2016. These are the years in which both of these cases occurred. We're going to start with the first one, which was a lady that was local to Chattanooga. She actually lived in the rich part of Chattanooga. I would call it North Shore area. There's a section of that area in Chattanooga where one of our senators, U.S. senators, lived. And I got the lead from there, just a typical direct mail lead, normally mailed out to everywhere. And I got the lead, she set the appointment, and I remember going to the home before I even sat down and talked with the lady. I actually saw her mansion and immediately turned around and drove away because I got scared. I thought, why am I even bothering this lady with obviously enough money to take care of this stuff? Why would I waste my time? And I caught myself in that process thinking, you know what? I'm saying it's a bad word. Turn your ass around and go do your job, because that is your job to do. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. So I listened to the angel on my shoulder, turned right around, went back in. She's leaving in her Escalade, right? And she yells at me after I've talked myself into go back to see her. I told you to call me to confirm before you get here, blah, blah, blah. I'm leaving. I got to go. Call me before you come next time. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. So I told her, we set a time anyway. I think someone called her, my appointment setter. I went back and she proceeded to yell at me again for not calling to confirm, but instead said, okay, well, you're here anyway, just come on in. So went down, sat down. Long story short, this is a lady who was essentially heir to a lot of money, wanted to buy some life insurance, had some health issues. She was otherwise a final expense prospect with a litany of health problems. And I ended up writing her something like, I think 7 or 8 policies total got approved for a maximum of $25,000 plus, and whatever the max amount was for each final expense case. And I just wrote a ton of premium on this lady. And so that was the first story. The second one was actually a referral. My old man, my dad, for a period of time got into final expense sales, met a dude in Albany, Georgia, which is 5 hours away, wrote a $500 a month deal on him. He was 84. My grandma DeFord had just passed away. I think she was 94. And we were up at the funeral in Detroit. And he said, hey, you should call Joe, or whatever his name was. He mentioned maybe wanting to buy more. And I said, okay, cool, I'll do that. Dad had since gotten out of the business, wasn't interested in selling it. So lo and behold, I give the guy a call and I say, hey, I'm Dave DeFord. I'm your agent's son. He said I should call you because you might be interested in more insurance. He was real happy to talk to me. We started talking. And he said, well, how much is another $25,000 policy going to run? I was like, well, you know, it's like $460, you know. I was like, man, that's a big deal. I was like, wow, oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. And I'm like, I'm coming down tomorrow. Does 10 o'clock or 2 work better, right? And so I roll on down there. Real nice gentleman. He's since passed away, but he had a policy, just got remarried at like 83, needed more insurance. And I wrote him a $25,000 with I don't know who. But then we started talking, and he mentioned, hey, yeah, I think I might want to get more. What does so-and-so run? And I ended up writing, I think, another total of $100,000 in coverage on the guy, and added like another $15,000 in premium that I hadn't with the first one. And it was great. I think I went down there a second time to wrap the deal up with another one of the cases that were there. So anyways, these are the biggest cases I ran across. And there's a couple of things, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is because you're going to run across these whales. I would call these like mega whales, these grand slams from time to time. It's not every day you run into this, but you need to be prepared on how to deal with them and how to sell them, and also to have the proper mindset. So a couple lessons I want to share with you from this. Number one is that shut your brain off, okay? Like, this is the big problem with being a human being. We look at our surroundings and we make judgments. Now, there's a perfectly evolutionarily sound reason why. We want to survive, we want to avoid harm. That's totally fine, but many times that kind of judgment clouds our perception of reality. We look at a mansion and we think, how could they want life insurance? And we don't see the potential tangents it can go. We look at a slum or a trailer and think, how can these people have two pennies to rub together? When we think we know what the circumstances are for these people, but we're totally surprised and shocked when we enter a completely different scenario altogether. All in all, here's my point. We don't know what's behind that door, much less a mansion or a trailer or a Section 8 home. But what we do know is that with enough approaches, using a lead system gets in front of the right kind of prospect, we're liable to ultimately, over time, run across the singles and the doubles and the normal sales, but also the whales too. And it's not a good decision to make a judgment call before you even approach to see if this person is interested, because after all, they sent the card in, they requested the information, and you making a judgment call on them with this prior, thinking this is prior information, is foolhardy. It's something that took me years to break, and any agents who's getting into this final expense space, shut your brain off. Don't judge if this person's too poor, too rich, or anywhere in between. Just be a service to them. Go try to help them. The worst that's going to happen is they'll say no, close the door, and then you're on to the next one. But we don't know what's behind that door, because if I had listened to that devil on my shoulder, I wouldn't have made tens of thousands of dollars on that one client simply because of my stupid thinking. Number two on the list here is do what it takes, right? So this is something we've all heard, but it truly is the case in final expense. There's a client that's 5 hours away. The drive from Chattanooga to Albany, Georgia is like 5 hours. It wasn't guaranteed I was going to take it, but the juice was worth the squeeze. It was worth taking the risk to go down there to see what I could do to close the deal. There have been many times when I've been told somebody is going to buy and then they don't when I show up, but that's part of the deal. And that's true in final expense, whether you're selling in person or over the phone. You're going to have to approach clients who may or may not buy from you. They send in the lead, they request the information, but it's not meaning they're going to buy. And there's no way to get around that. And you will get frustrated when you hear from these people and they waste your time. And you think it's a waste of time. But the better way to look at it is it's just the cost of doing business. It is the cost every single agent has to shoulder, whether it's wasted time trying to sell them over the phone or wasted time driving to see if they're home, to show up to the appointment and they don't. This is the time on task every single agent must carry in order to find the gold that is hidden between the people who don't show up, waste your time, etc. If you can figure out another way to do this business without having to deal with the frustrations, then I think what would end up happening is that AI or the company itself would figure out how to duplicate that process and fire us agents, and then there wouldn't be this wonderful opportunity. So it's better to assume, and this is a very important lesson to teach, is that with every business model, no matter insurance or otherwise, final expense or otherwise, there is good and there is bad. Thinking that you're going to switch from telesales to face-to-face and all your problems are gone is immature. It's not true. Likewise, from final expense to Medicare, annuities, and other industry, you're going to have problems in those businesses. They're going to be a little different. And the ultimate question you got to answer is, can you accept the bad with the good? Everybody can accept the good, typically, making money and having success, but it's the bad that the sooner you understand what it is, come to terms with it, and I believe accept it, the faster you're going to learn to embrace the realities of this business and do what it takes to overcome the bad by focusing on the good and therefore scaling yourself to success. And the last point here is that big cases are easier to sell. There's a lot of people who think that if you sit down with somebody who's going to look at a $100, $200 a month premium, that is somehow a more difficult or challenging case. My perception is that is not the case. In fact, they're easier. And in many cases, the bigger premiums stick better, okay? So why is that the case? Because there's more at play, because they're putting more of their money into it. They believe it for more often than the smaller deals. The smaller deals, the 20s, the 30s a month, easy come, easy go, just $1 a day, right? Like, who cares if you let the thing go? You can always start it later. It's not like 20 bucks is a lot of money to lose. People throw that away on scratch-offs and lottery tickets every single month. So a lot of the times the lower policy sizes are equally difficult, if not more difficult, to close and then keep than the larger ones. And when I sat down with these clients, these were easy clients to close. They understood what it is that they had and what they wanted and why they wanted it. And having the money and the size of the case really wasn't a determining factor of the difficulty to close it. And that's kind of, I think, a reality that I've had as just somebody who's been in the space of final expense and sales for, geez, since I was 21, I'm 38 now at the filming of this, is that we kind of overthink that the higher ticket deals are harder to sell. And the truth is they're really not. As long as you do a good job of connecting the pain that they have with the solution they have, whether it's a small final expense policy or an enormous annuity, you're going to close deals if you can show how your product solves your problem, no matter the size. So I hope this gave you some perspective on some really important lessons to learn about selling final expense successfully and consistently. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to subscribe. If you're interested in selling final expense successfully, check out what we have to offer at DeFord Insurance Group. Head over to daviddeFord.com/FAQ for more details. Thank you.